Well, what do you know? The Eagles gave us their final injury report for Sunday against the Miami Dolphins, and there's one player missing from it that might shock you. Nick Sirianni, he's worried about putting Julio Jones in danger against the Dolphins, and an ESPN insider gives all the details on who Philadelphia could be calling for a trade. It's more than you think. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. All right, I'm like you. I can't wait for tomorrow night, Sunday night against the Miami Dolphins. We're about a day away, and the Eagles' final injury report officially is here. And it's not who's on it, but who's off it that's really shocking. First of which, yes, it's official. Reed Blakenship, Bradley Roby, they will miss Sunday night's game. Not really a surprise, but it is a bummer. And Philadelphia will roll out Terrell Edmonds and Sidney Brown as your two starting safeties against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua Tagovailoa. But it's who was left off of the injury report that is really shocking. I mean, look at this. Lane Johnson, he was a full participant in yesterday's practice. Full! And is starting at right tackle tomorrow. Now, we told you this was probably going to happen, but the fact that he's full and not even limited is unbelievable, despite the fact that we are days away. We're just like days after he limped off the field against the Jets and seemingly had at least a multi-week ankle injury. The fact that he is completely healthy, at least according to this injury report, and you know they can't lie, wink, wink, but still completely healthy. Thumbs up for that. It's absolutely insane. The Eagles get a big boost offensively and really have a chance on Sunday. Now, also full participants and playing on Sunday, Darius Slay, not really a surprise there. Eli Ricks back from that knee injury. Sidney Brown, the hamstring. Again, we knew this was going to happen, but now it's officially official. They will all be back there in the Eagles secondary. We also get confirmation on Devonta Smith, who is limited, but still going to be out there and playing. Jalen Carter with the ankle injury, he's going to play. Dallas Goedert, after that injury popped up at the end of the Jets game. All limited, yes, but they were clear to play and will be ready to go against Miami. Now, in regards to Jalen Carter's ankle injury, I find it odd that his ankle caused him to wear a full-on leg brace you see here at practice 2 days ago. However, Josh Tolentino said that the Eagles rookie was walking through the locker room this afternoon at the conclusion of practice and flashed a wide smile and said, "I feel great." So, we'll just trust him and believe it, but I'm still curious if they're going to go ahead and make him keep wearing that massive leg brace for an ankle injury on Sunday night against Miami. Now, speaking of playing, Julio Jones, he was asked about his progress learning the offense, how he's feeling in terms of getting warmed up and in conditioning shape, and will he actually play on Sunday? And he said he's feeling great for Sunday. He keeps stacking days. It's up to the coaches whether he's activated this weekend. Now, that would lead me to believe that he is going to be activated this weekend. He was out there practicing again on Friday. Again, still weird to see him in an Eagles helmet, but he is out there and he's taking snaps and getting in reps and working with the first team and second team offenses. He's doing what you would expect him to do to play. However, Nick Sirianni was asked about this and he didn't really commit to it.
As Julio, you're going to be tempted to want to put him in, because he's a phenomenal player that's done a lot in this league. But we're going to have to make sure that we're not putting him in danger, doing what we need to do to help us win the game, and doing what he needs to do to help us win the game. But also being smart with his rep count because of the elevated risk of injury if you put him in for too much.
Kind of a mixed bag there. Like, Julio says he's ready to go. Sirianni is worried about him getting hurt, or at least not being fully prepared on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. I guess it makes sense, but that's the whole problem with Julio Jones, right? We all think he's gonna get hurt, and so when you say you're worried about him getting hurt, it makes us a little bit concerned. Now, Nick Sirianni did say yesterday he couldn't commit to Lane Johnson playing on Sunday night, and then today Lane Johnson's a full participant, 100% cleared and going, so Sirianni clearly has been known to stretch the truth a little bit when it comes to injury situations, or when it comes to someone being healthy and ready and able to play on Sunday. But Sirianni didn't say yes, and he is the head coach, and he will make the final decision when it comes to who gets activated and elevated from the practice squad, and Julio might be one of them, and he might not. I think it'll be kind of a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon maybe decision, and I'm very curious to see if Julio's going to play. What would you guys do? Would you let Julio kind of ease into the offense a little bit slower, maybe wait till after the bye week to get him going? Would you start him on Sunday night? Let me know down below. One thing not related to the Dolphins or Tua or Sunday Night Football is the Eagles trade situation, and while we all are kind of cued in on two players right now, ESPN's NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, he did an extensive dive into Philadelphia and the trade market in a couple of weeks, and it's a lot more extensive than you might have thought. Now, first off, he did mention that everyone at Denver is available except for Patrick Surtain. We've talked about that here on the show, but that does leave Justin Simmons technically available for trade with the Denver Broncos. Second, he mentioned Jeremy Chinn. Don't rule him out just because of his injury. Philadelphia could still trade for him, let him fully recover, especially with the bye week coming up in a couple of weeks, and then you'd get the young, very cheap potential star safety towards the latter part of the Eagles schedule when they're playing those more pass-heavy, tough-to-defend teams. But he also mentioned a name we haven't talked about at all, and that's Chicago's Jalen Johnson. Watson, who teams have not really been calling about yet, according to Fowler, but he could be on the available trade market. He's an option, mainly due to the fact that he was with Sean Desai when Desai was the Chicago Bears defensive coordinator. He's a versatile safety and a name we haven't really talked much about. He also mentioned that New England safety Kyle Duggar, he has versatility, but on a bad football team right now, is another intriguing option for Howie and company. Haven't heard a lot about him being on the trade market, but again, some new names being popped up here that aren't Budda Baker and Justin Simmons. Finally, he did say Las Vegas is hunting for a pass rusher. Derek Barnett's name went ahead and came up as well. Doesn't guarantee that the Raiders even want Derek Barnett because he's been terrible this year, as we've talked about, but if you could ship him off somewhere, maybe the Raiders would be interested. Either way, these are just some news and notes that Fowler said. Doesn't guarantee anything, take it all with a grain of salt, but at least it shows that maybe the list is not just 2 safeties, it could be 3, 4, or 5 safeties the Eagles could trade for, which means they not have to drive at the price for Budda Baker or Justin Simmons. They could settle for someone maybe a little bit worse, but a little bit cheaper, and it gives options for Howie Roseman. By the time you watch this video, Josh and I will both be in Philadelphia getting ready for a Saturday night and then a Sunday night matchup, obviously against the Miami Dolphins. So I figured I'll end today's video on a Saturday with Josh and I going back and forth, getting you a nice preview and getting you ready for Eagles and Dolphins. Ball is Life says, we know the Dolphins are an offensive powerhouse, but their defense is mid at best. Sunday's game will be a shootout for sure. Yeah, it is funny to think about the fact that the Dolphins are an absolute firepower, but they went to the Buffalo Bills, Orchard Park a couple of weeks ago, and their offense looked very mid, right? If you can get pressure on Tua Tagovailoa, he is kind of a first-read quarterback. That's not a knock on Tua. He's great, but he is like a, where's Tyreek ball out? Like, it's his whole thing, is get the ball out quickly to a wide-open Tyreek Hill. If Philly wins on Sunday night, 31-24, and Jalen has no picks, all this talk about, like, how we're trash and the offensive play calling is bad and this and that, like, it instantly stops. Instantly stops. People go back to, trash talking Cowboy content creators on Twitter. They go back to talking about how we're going to win the Super Bowl and how Brock Purdy stinks. It can be resolved very quickly with a win, and I'm very excited for that to happen because it'll be a welcome moment, very, very much so.
Absolutely, yes. And with Sean Desai too. I mean, we've talked about Brian Johnson and the offense and everything there, but I mean, I think both of us have mentioned it a couple times, but the fact that what Sean Desai has done, his job and being able to take over the defense, manage with the lack of players that he's had. I mean, I don't know that I would have ever expected that the defense more often, not every game, but more often is the side that's showing up better than the offense is. And so, kudos to him. He's got his work cut out for him for sure this week. But if he could do something here where you're limiting the number 1 offense in the NFL, that's saying something for sure.
Dirty D mentioned that here with his $5 super chat and entry into our jersey giveaway. Desai is great. He's a huge upgrade from Gannon. This man has made it work with all these injuries. Gannon would have been a nightmare. We can all agree about that. Spilled Milk says, what the hell is going on with Eli Ricks? He was a full participant in practice today, Spilled Milk, so he's going to go. He was a full participant. Little knee issue, but he's young, and those young injuries tend to bounce back a lot quicker. No issues there at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Another thing too, Luis Harris, the last word says to a revenge game for Hurts. That's interesting. Do you believe in that? Do you think that there's anything to that?
No, Jalen's not thinking about that. Jalen's thinking about not throwing, 3 interceptions and losing a football game. That's what he's thinking about. Kelsey said it today. Like he gets quote pissed off when he loses football games because he hasn't lost a lot of them in his career, and he hadn't lost one in 11 straight starts, but going back to the regular season, not the Super Bowl, but. He's going to be in revenge mode, and I'm very excited to see him bounce back to this because it's been a long time since Hurts had back-to-back losses in Philadelphia. Go back to his rookie season or whenever he was, in for his first season as a starter, I guess year 2. But I'm excited to see what he can do. And like I said earlier, I think the link is going to be as motivating and electric as it's ever been. The Kelly Green, the Dolphins jerseys, Tua versus Hurts, Tyreek versus A.J. Brown. They're the top 2 receivers in the league. The Mostert rushing attack versus the DeAndre Swift. Like, we're very similar football teams. I think our defense is a little bit better. Our defensive line, if Carter plays, is much, much better. Yeah. But it's the AFC of the NFC. The Dolphins are the Eagles of the AFC, and the Eagles are the Dolphins of the NFC, minus Speedy Tyreek Hill. They're very similarly built with Waddle and Smith, and I'm very pumped to see this game. This, to me, was game of the year when I saw the schedule before the season. I think the Niner game, depending on where we're at, could really be game of the year in Philadelphia, Week 13, but this is game of the first half of the schedule, and I'm honestly more excited for this one than the Cowboy game a couple weeks later. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off, I guess now from Philly. Can't wait to see you guys at the game if you're going to be there. Thumbs up if you're excited for this one. Let's get to 6-1. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.